Hey guys, remember this one? It's the brisket from Pinkerton's, the one he trimmed up and took about 40% of the weight off. I got one of the questions ready to go. Do you put any kind of binding agent on the brisket before you put on your seasoning, like mustard or a hot sauce? Well, the answer is absolutely not. Why would you do that? In fact, it might even ruin some of your crust, some of your bark. So all he does, at least in competition, is this. All right, well, how much seasoning though do I really need? Well, if you're gonna measure it, you need a half cup. Quarter cup pepper, quarter cup salt, and add a little garlic to that if you want. But if you're not gonna measure it, if you're just gonna eyeball it, there's almost enough. You might even say that we could use a little bit more. Real important that you get all sides of the brisket too. Lift it up and make sure that every edge gets some of that seasoning. This is important in building the appropriate bark. The other question we always get, is this a left or a right-sided brisket? First of all, it probably doesn't matter, but there is a myth that the left side is more tender and easier to cook than the right side. If you can figure out why that is, send me an email back and tell me why. It's pretty funny. All right, next question's fat side up, fat side down. Easy answer, fat side up, always. You'll hear people say, based on what you're smoking with, based on what your cooker is, you might want fat side down. Fat side's always up though. All right, so Grant, you got a baste, right? Well, no. Grant says, what's the point? A lot of juices in this meat already. Look guys, that crust is starting to form, the bark's starting to show up. About time to wrap. See you in a minute. So Grant, do we wrap with butcher paper or foil, also known as the Texas crutch? Well, butcher paper is the answer. So let's drop one in here and see what this looks like. That's it so far. So I'm gonna do a quick wrap on this. I'll be back shortly when it's time to rest. All right, so now we're all done. We got to our target internal temp. And now we're gonna do a little bit of a rest. So the next question that came to Grant was, how important is the rest? What do you do? Well, a restaurant requires warming drawers and ways to prolong food so that it can get through a full day. If you're doing your own backyard cook, wrap it in some saran wrap or cellophane, a towel, and then putting in an insulated cooler is a fine way to make sure that the final process finishes and that it's plenty tender. That's it. All right, guys. Now I'm at the center office. The brisket's ready to go. I gotta unwrap it and slice it up for everyone to eat. But I forgot to answer one of the questions. It was how many briskets, how much meat can Pinkerton's do? Well, that San Antonio location with those 3,000 gallon pits, they can each do 25 briskets at a time. That's 75 briskets in a day. That's not their typical way of going about it. They got a real strategic way to make sure the briskets sell out and the pork sells even higher. So, shall we take a quick look? Did we mess up at all? How's that look?
It's a nice bark.
That's a mess. How'd he teach us? Separate the two, right? Oh yeah, guys. We're gonna be just fine. We'll see you next time.